Charlie, what are you doing? Get away from that camera!
Hey, this is Joshua. We're about to give you guys a behind-the-scenes look at the custom mobile suits of Gundam Father of Peace. This is the RX-78E Gundam, Oxel. This Gundam is an extra prototype version, trying to win the bid for mass production over the original RX-78. It has higher output in its generator, choosing to leave out the core block system. It has more armaments and much more armor. It is kind of a mix between the ground-type Gundam and the original Gundam. Its name, Oxel, is a German name meaning Father of Peace. It's also built out of 12 different mobile suits parts. This is the custom unit of Commander Werner, who takes over the Earth occupation forces in North America after the death of Garmazabi. This unit's name is the Zorn, which is German for wrath, and it is every bit of wrath in its design. It's a mix between a Neros Gundam, a Death Scythe, and a few other parts, and a Gelgoog head. It has a very high output beam rifle, which was based off a captured Gundam beam rifle. As you may have noticed in the original Gundam series, Amuro liked to throw his beam rifles away. Well, surely somebody found them, and then they upgraded it. The same for the beam saber. Werner is known for his keeping high pieces of technology for himself and not sharing them with the rest of Zeon. Having access to that relocated beam rifle of Amuro's, he was able to perfect the beam technology long before the rest of Zeon did for their Gelgoogs. This is our worker GM. Basically, whenever we play with our Gundams, this one dies. It was made out of the useless Butler Gundam and the spare RX-78 ground-type Gundam backpack that I had lying around. When you buy as many Gundams on eBay as I do, you end up with a lot of spare parts, which can be a lot of fun if you have some super glue handy.
Hey guys, this is Shade Laree. Don't tell Joshua I stole the camera. This is my unit. Not piloted by me, I just like it. I built it after all. It doesn't have a name yet, but it's something like a heavy arms GM. There's a GM cannon head, I think. I don't know. Anyway, I think it looks pretty rough and tough. Its parts don't really come about till 0083 or so, though. That's why Joshua doesn't like it quite as well.
This is our custom-built GM cannon. They never made a GM cannon MSIA, so we decided to make one ourselves. It's made from the remains of a Dragon Gundam from G Gundam, and an original RX-78, and a GM head. Also a few parts we scrapped from SD Gundams. We built the cannon ourselves, gave it a custom paint job, and it came out beautifully. GM cannon was an effort by the Federal Forces to develop an intermediate between the gun cannon and the GMs so that they might be able to produce GM cannons cheaper. Unfortunately, it didn't work out as well as they hoped, and not many GM cannons were produced. This is our custom-built GM Custom. Whereas the GM Sniper was thought to be the highest elevation of GM status, this one is one step higher, meshing a lot of the same designs of the GM Sniper and the GM Command. This one outranks them all in boosters and firepower and flexibility. With slightly a smaller frame in some areas, it saves on fuel consumption. We actually built it out of an overzealous amount of Strike Gundams that I had collected, which didn't fit into our UC storyline very well, and Shining Gundams, which I also had a ridiculous amount of, and neither were very compatible with most of my other Gundam parts. And so one day, I started meshing them, and we have about 7 of these special built GM customs. This is our custom ball. It has dual miniguns on top, which can also be swapped out for dual missiles. It is built for a specialized pilot that we are working on creating, and it actually has a cockpit that is in the works of being able to be opened. We worked very hard to put extra details on it like the Japanese release ones, and it's a ball to be reckoned with, if there ever was one. We're not sure. This oddball unit is an Aquatic GM. Designed by the Federal Forces to try and combat Zeon's amphibious units, it wasn't very successful, but it was designed to sustain underneath high pressure water and given a couple weapons that might fight underwater. I can't say it fares very well, but it's very original. Because underwater combat often involves melees, it has extra long arms. But should it need to go above water, its upper apparatus can break off, giving it lighter movement. This is the Federation's underwater combat ball, mobile armor. Instead of just regular boosters, it has a turbine in the back and extra large claws for melee combat underwater. It also has a specialized cannon for firing underwater. You might take notice of the front cockpit area that has been reinforced to sustain itself underneath high pressure water. This unit actually fares better than the underwater GM in combat. This is our custom built Rickdom 2. Like our custom GM cannon, a Rickdom 2 was never made into an MSIA. There's model kits, of course, but no MSIA. We took some spare parts and we gave it the extra fuel components in the back. We rigged it a special neck, which actually bends and turns, and gave it different shoulders. We spent a lot of time on this to make it look like an authentic Rickdom 2 from 0080. These 3 units are more of our random projects. The first is a long cannon, a cross between the gun cannon and a gun tank. Our guess is it would be wildly off balance. This second unit right here is an attempt to make a Blue Destiny Unit 4. 2 and 3 were destroyed. We thought it would be neat if they made a 4th one. And this following one is a Survivor Zaku. It's been through hell and came back, and been rebuilt from the ground up with everything from goof parts to Dom parts. Whoever pilots it must be an ace. Once upon a time, while I was in college, and Gundams were quickly vanishing off store shelves never to be seen again, I found something called the Zebra Gundam. It deserved to be burned, but out of the ashes came a reconnaissance Zeon type weapon. I still can't say it's amazing, but trust me, it's 1,000 times better than what it once was. No one should have ever made a Zebra Gundam. While this is an ordinary Zaku too, the Bazooka is not. This is something very special that Wolfpack Productions R&D department came up with. It is an actual missile firing bazooka. And no, we don't mean plastic missiles. We mean the kind that explode. Hang on. I'll let you see it in action.